chicken comes out.
And God
Getting scolded.
God is here, yes.
Yeah.
How's God feeling?
Omniscient.
Very well.
How does that feel?
Omniscient.
Describe it in more. Describe it in words. Describe it in a way a mortal can understand.
No.
Well, that's the God I
Break your
know.
feeble mind.
Solve the questions of the universe. Nah. Oh, well, I guess that's that.
I'll consume my chocolate in ignorance then.
Goger's connection hiccup or something. I noticed that he connected to the server and then disconnected.
Yep.
He was in the call. And
It was like, I'm fighting! And then I have to concentrate. And then we talked a little bit and then he dropped.
Alright. It's good. It's good.
I don't know what he's doing.
I reckon we'll give him a few minutes.
Is the call quality okay? I'm hosting it right now.
It's sufficient.
Seems fine to me.
Sufficiency, what I strive for in life.
You're a man of science.
Yup. Well, I try to be anyway. Yeah, he's also off Skype entirely. Maybe he's restarting his computer. Seems likely. Discovered he was updating Java and just unplugged it.
He unplugged Java?
No, the computer. No. Threw himself at the cord.
No.
Not be!
Well, updating Java is literally the worst thing.
Literally.
First world problems. My Java updated. I can't do anything.
Oh.
At least Skype doesn't use it yet.
I mean, ever since Skype updated, I'm apparently a psychic because everything I answer to has supposedly been sent after I answered.
Oh.
It's really infuriating.
Mine just crashes a lot, so.
Skype is an AI. It usually tries to talk to me like it says there's a message, but I can't find any message. Someday maybe it'll get through.
Times two, the phantom message. What message is unread? Tell me.
I need to know. I'll never get this closure. Oh, man. It's strange, isn't it? Geráck and Aurelia now being the sort of oldest active party members.
I mean, except for the Cube, who's only here half the time.
I remember them when they showed up and they were the newbies.
Oh, how times change.
Yeah.
Damn, Manaki, the tables have turned on you.
Yeah, now I will be the new one. Out of responsibility. All the stupid mistakes.
I think that the current party has seen Tempus like twice.
Yeah. But that's his thing, right? He said one time he fell asleep and then half an age had passed.
You know, he'll make a great figure on my mantelpiece.
He's like, he survived for 6 ages by simply not being there. Who knows how old he is? He probably doesn't even.
Maybe he used to be an icon.
Who knows? Well, I think we probably know that much.
Then he got rusty.
It seems like he doesn't really have room for that many more unique things than I turn into a box every so often and fucking remain in stasis until I pop out randomly again. I think that makes you unique enough by itself. Unless there's a very dangerous place where all the civil servants also have that. why Geráck fell to the ground. The pilot just popped into a cube, didn't come up for.
Well, I mean, if you're unique, you can always be more unique, right?
It's not enough you're a special snowflake. You have to be like a special snowflake. Huh.
Another 3-4 minutes, but this session stops for no absent person.
Yeah. Damn it, Goger, I need you.
So, Aurelia, you're leader.
We'll have a girls' night out session.
We will
Right.
march on Dragon Hall.
Well, that depends. Are you playing a
You have 100 wizards. Go.
Good enough, I say.
You're like, invade Dragon Hall by ourselves? Nah, no. We're not that dedicated.
The army wouldn't follow you there.
Yeah. Like, fucking through the abyss, close to the abyss by the Demon Coast. Yeah, but not fucking Dragon Hall. Have you been there?
Yes, actually.
Have you?
Well, actually, no, just. The rest of the party has.
Aurelia's like, yes. I lived there once. Before we leave, do we intend to announce to the people of Newport that we're marching towards access to give them food? You think maybe that would be like, in some months, boats will come with food? Probably.
Not going to help that much.
Well, you know. They're probably going to be like, well, what about now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think surprising them with food might be better than... I don't know.
Remember the last time you folks wanted to talk to peasants?
You know,
Oh,
if
session
that's one thing I learned, it's fuck the peasants. Just...
I mean, we've had the two main experiences are Tempus talking to peasants and getting attacked to the gate here, and then all the way back in session 2?
But how can you leave?
3, like
What
I
about
said.
the hungry peasants? Let them eat cake.
Yes,
There we go.
yes, Tempus and his crazy idea of like handing out stuff to people. It's
Take
never
the money.
enough.
Take the money. We want more money.
If you give like money to like 73 peasants, what about all the other peasants? That's not fair.
So we just give
Never
nothing
give to
to
charity.
everyone.
Yeah. It's really kinder to let them starve. You know? Or more like, there's only so much food to go around.
Only the
The problem
important
is not
people
their
should.
lack of money, it's the lack of food. Or that one Elvish chef who... Well, he's probably making do. See, this problem isn't really a problem in Dragon Hall. They just eat one another.
He doesn't make dew, he makes food. There's a difference.
Well, dew is an elven dish from dewdrops and honey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's like a stew, but more luxurious.
more fancy, and they also have to like press valuable flowers into it just cause.
Alright. Welcome to session 35 of our 13th Age campaign, folks. Let's start with a recap. Any volunteers, or shall I roll a D3 of decisiveness?
Do it.
I'll do it.
All right.
I can do the recap.
Okay.
Last time in 13th Age, we were standing on the, well, not precipice, on the ascent of Proudford. After battling through a couple oppositions there, we were finally ready to head up to the fort proper. And on our way there, we had to battle through quite the waves of minions and other minor things that were wanting to stand in our way. And they had some success, unfortunately. meaning that we didn't have too much success as we had intended to when heading up those particular stairs. But after some off-screen battles, we did manage to reach the top, as it were, or at least almost. We were then confronted by a pair of frost giants and their helpers, which I believe were like a magus and some other spellfist people who we've encountered before. And that encounter didn't go well for us. It essentially ended up with the Frostfist himself arriving and us surrendering. It turned out to be not as bad as it sounds, because the Frostfist was actually quite the honorable fella, in that he allowed us to simply leave, and he also said that he was going to leave anyways. He got paid by the Black Fang, and now he's happy, and now he can't be bothered to do any work for them because they were stupid enough to pay him in full before he did anything, or at least much. So he was already preparing to leave Proudfort anyways, and we're like, sure. He also apparently recognized the helmet that Geráck was wearing as a kind of family heirloom, and as it turns out, the Frostfist's armor was also made by dwarves, and there was some sort of connection there. He eventually offered that he would do something for us if Geráck managed to break through the armor and hurt him, although
That was to let you go.
That was to let us go, okay.
Yes. If you failed, then he was going to put you on the Corsairs and send you to Drakenhall.
Alright, but he was like, hey, I know Geráck, I know the family heirloom he's wearing. Show me that you can hurt me and I'll let you go. And Geráck did give it his all. He used his warhammer to indeed hit him rather hard, and got hit rather hard in return. But Geráck survived, and apparently it was enough to somewhat impress the Frostfist, who was willing to let us go. And so we did, kind of. Because once we went somewhere else to rest and recuperate a bit, it was Dwohurim's turn to tell everyone that we should really get rid of these bandits. They are terrible for Newport, and we have one last sleeve up our one last ace up our sleeve, which was a ritual by the Lich King, which would rejuvenate our powers and let us essentially try again, but this time in full strength. Geráck was not impressed by the idea of collaborating with the Lich King to, well, do anything. Aurelia was fine with it, and I believe that Jasmine also rejected the idea, although I'm pretty sure she was okay with actually getting rid of the bandits properly.
Yeah, getting rid of the bandits she wanted, but not Lich King power.
So Geráck ended up accepting it too.
It's true. I was the only one who actually rejected the...
So it was Geráck, Aurelia, and Dwohurim accepting the ritual to do what's necessary, and then we headed back after the Frostfist to find him celebrating with his minions, and preparing to leave and all that. So we went up there, we were surrounded by all these people who were rather confused, considering that the Frostfist had just let us go. And when we then decided to engage the Frostfist, after Dwohurim's insistent suggestions that these bandits need to be dealt with, Geráck was essentially ready to, well, pretty much sacrifice himself, because in retrospect he really didn't like the soul accepting the Lich King's aid, and he was perfectly fine with just getting demolished. But as soon as the battle was almost joined, it turned out that Dwohurim simply teleported away. That was something. Before the battle finally commenced, Aurelia did manage to convince Geráck that maybe he shouldn't just throw himself into the Frostfist and get everyone killed, because the circumstances had just radically changed. We came to Proudfort to, well, deal with Auxilia, perhaps deal with Zeke Matthews as well, Ezekiel, perhaps even deal with the Frostfist, but in the end we didn't really deal with anything. The Frostfist left by himself, Auxilia was nowhere to be found, Ezekiel was nowhere to be found, And then it turned out that Dwohurim not only convinced Geráck to accept the ritual by the Lich King, but also just disappeared when things got hairy. With those revelations, we headed back to Newport, or were going to, when a bunch of air elementals sent by Lord Teraptus were told to escort us back, essentially, or help us travel back faster. So we talked to him, and he was like, yeah, Dwohurim told me you was going to go ahead and or something. And Aurelia was like, what? No, that's wrong. And yeah. At least in Aurelia's mind, Dwohurim has most definitely betrayed them all. And while we did kind of succeed in our primary objective to rid Proudfort of bandits, the other objectives are now just nowhere to be found. The other objectives being Ezekiel and Auxilia. Auxilia, who we very much believe to be what's-his-face's wife, Renee Cauldron, the wife of what's his name again?
Deceased Evrat Lavelle.
Evrat Lavelle, who was murdered in his sleep and his vault robbed, including a very important artifact which we will undoubtedly never see again, the Sword of Ruin, which has the power to not only kill a person but also curse everything that he was related to, essentially. So if one were to, say, slay an icon with it, while the icon is helpless, the entire domain of said icon would crumble eventually. That was in the protection of Evra Lavelle, who was murdered, everything stolen. Renee Cauldron is we think, Auxilia, because we found a letter in her place that addressed her as Auxilia and also mentioned the Sword of Ruin. She's gone, the sword is gone, Dwohurim is gone, Ezekiel is gone, but the bandits are also gone, so we got that going for us, which is great. I think that is essentially a summary of what happened. And now, one important thing, in addition to that, the world has changed for us. Because Lord Teraptus and friends have finally recognized our worth and have given us our very personal advisors, so that we may be informed on the going-ons and may make decisions that may affect the entire empire.
Yes, it might be a stretch to say that Lord Teraptus has recognized Aurelia's worth, but certainly something's there.
Yeah, as a group,
it's close enough.
Yes, close enough. I mean, all right. That is exciting. To be sure. I mean, okay. You've had your time to consider your plan, while advisors, scouts, and mages within Newport have fed you possibilities. You three, perhaps, are still in deliberations right now, staring at Lord Teraptus' immense map of the entire Dragon Empire, a near-unique treasure of incredible value. It's here where Geráck, all three of you, really are interrupted by an apprentice mage. The apprentice mage will state that Geráck is requested at the front desk. There is a visitor, a wood elf, asking for him. Geráck sort of blinks. He says that he doesn't really know any wood elves that he wants to talk to, but alright. Shrug. He'll begin walking towards the apprentice mage. Geráck looks back at you two. Shrugs again.
Aurelia will motion to follow Geráck, as she's not really into that whole planning business, while she is trying to, first of all, digest the options that she now has. But she's curious, so she would like to follow.
Such power!
with equal curiosity, Jasmine's going to follow along. Occasionally checking her quiver with arrows.
Clanking back through the inner sanctum of the Arcane College, heading for the front desk, certainly does take a little bit of time. They haven't quite gotten, the teleportation gates repaired yet after the great catastrophe. So it is still some distance to hoof it all the way back to the front desk. Geráck, half lost in mumbling about, his family, as well as a wood elf, because he's really racking his brain about, what wood elves he knows. Eventually, however, you do end up reaching the front desk area where gentle, soft music is playing. Do do do. No, that's not happening. And soft perfume and flowers, like smells like wafting through, like it's like a waiting room for like a salon. The person behind the front desk has gone back to reading, and the area is quiet. There's only one other individual in the front desk area. Manaki, that would be your character.
I would it. And I'll just put him down over here.
All right, go ahead and do that.
The person you see here is a fairly tall, well, clearly wood elf due to the pointed ears and sort of the shape of his general features. Very clearly full-blooded elf. He has sort of a long, long brown hair, very seemingly very smooth and almost flowing around his head, even though there's not much really wind in here. He is dressed in a very elaborate, very finely wrought armor. Not too unlike Geráck's, though clearly from a different sort of style of ironworking. It is very elegant, but also seems to give a great deal of protection. He has sort of different signs of insignias and such, but as none of you are really familiar with elves, they wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense, I imagine. He's sort of wearing currently sort of a nice thick blue cloak. Clearly, he's very well equipped for someone just traveling around, seemingly alone. And he's sort of sitting here waiting, almost seeming a little awkward, like it's not something he's used to.
The main area of the Arcane College is not the best waiting area, no. Especially not for a stranger. Which would be your character. Geráck steps out into the main room area, looks over at the wood elf, blinks, and clings closer, and says, "I'm Geráck Zold. What business do you have with me?"
The elf stands up from the place he sits and steps forward, reaching out his hand, looking down at the dwarf, sort of appraising him with his eyes, before giving him a bow, and says, "I am Aranes Velduth, and I have come seeking you from quite the distance away. It is good to finally meet you. It has been a long journey."
Geráck looks up with a quizzical expression, reaches to take the outstretched hand after making sure that his gauntlet's not on, and says, "Quite a distance. That does not quite say what business you have with me, though, Velduth."
He nods and says, "I suppose it does not, and I suppose this might not be the only such offer you have had in, well, time here in Newport. I have come to offer my services to you and yours in your cause."
"Services? I serve the Great Gold Worm."
He smiles and says, "Yes, have I for a time." And he will take his hand to his side and retrieve a letter that he will hand to her, and says, "A mutual friend said that you would be the person to go to about certain unpleasant revelations I have had in my work with him."
Geráck will look at the letter. He will take it from the outstretched hand and step back a bit, unfurl it, and read it. Now, I was going to make Goger read this motherfucking thing. I tell you what, Dark, you need more reading practice. Why don't you read like Geráck would?
Oh god. Wait, that's formatting? Formatting. "Blessings upon you, Geráck of Zold. I hope this letter finds you well. It has been several years since we last spoke. I know your journey has taken you in search of your lost family, and I pray you have succeeded. You have been absent from our land for some time, and I thought this letter could, in part, serve to inform you of recent events. I will be blunt. Your father's condition has deteriorated in your absence. Many think Geráck think incapable. Rulership over your family's fortunes has passed to his temptress." That mean
Goger invented these names. Don't look at me.
really?
Just read it like
Go,
you're
go,
Swedish.
go, go. I'm not Jonas. She has a velvet glove with an iron fist. Be wary should you return home, and should you find your kin. Do not send them back alone. The political landscape here has shifted. Worries fill the Dwarf King's court. I have ranged to the west, and I've seen ominous shadows colliding with beyond our mountain. Blood is upon our steps. I can feel it in my stones. The Dragon Empire is too racked with human pain to assist greatly. The long night will begin again. Have a drink or two for us, will you? Before I let you go, the bearer of this note should be a fae by the name of Aranes Balduf. He's a sort of one of them. Fair bit of reputation. Looked into his past. Turns out he's a warden of the Crystal Lake. Official name of semi-secret position. He knows a lot about the Green, and by extension, all vile dragons who dare poison the land. He's out on a quest of his own. I asked him to carry this letter should he ever encounter you. He's not one of us, but he's not half bad. Give him some alcohol first. Deepest regards, Torque Demon Bane.
Geráck grunts, staring at the letter after finishing his reading of it. Torque.
Ernest will bow slightly and says, I worked with him in my time around the area of Concord. I have not read the letter, but sort of looks a little anticipating on Geráck. Perhaps you would at least allow me a meeting with you and yours to, I have some questions about what I've heard you've been doing here that might put my mind at ease.
Geráck slowly looks up from the letter, looks over his right shoulder at Aurelia.
Well, Aurelia has been kind of keeping in the background here to not spoil the first introduction. But she will then take a step forward, nod in greeting to Aranes, and say, I do think that we should at least find a place to talk. If you are indeed who you say you are, and this letter and Geráck's reaction does seem to confirm that, then I see a useful future ahead.
You'll sort of look at her, appraising. It's very hard to read his face, but he will nod and then slightly, and then sort of look on, so to speak, to the other follower of Geráck.
As Jasmine, waits for Aurelia to finish speaking, gives a polite smile and a half bow. I think that would be appropriate, yes. It has been, if you've travelled so far, it'd be rude to not give you some form of audience.
Nods. Just steps forward a little bit more, sort of looks past Geráck still and says, ladies, you have me at a disadvantage.
I suppose we do, looks to Aurelia.
Yeah.
I am Jasmine Rose, of House Vayne. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Aurelia smiles for a moment and nods again in greeting. I am Aurelia.
And says, well, as allies of Geráck and of the Zolds, I am sure we will work together in a great way. Perhaps, however, what we need to talk about would be better spoken of in a more private setting. So it looks around the sort of entry hall. Do you have such rooms available?
I believe we do.
You could take him back to the room where you guys were staring at the immense map.
Yeah.
Then we should do that.
Geráck will follow at a slower pace, not particularly paying attention, just rereading the letter multiple times.
Ernest will move up, trying to be near the front to see where we're going, basically.